Today we're going to be going over settings to make your life easier while playing Mir 3. When we first open up the game, this is what we see. These are your default settings that you see on screen now. The goal of this video is to help you understand what each setting actually does and how to make your time playing easier. Some of these tips most will know, but for some this video will teach you many things. I'll begin with the basic settings to set up your game and end with more advanced settings to help you play to your best potential with the least struggle. There will also be bonus tips towards the end explaining how systems in Mir 3 work. First thing I would do is your chat settings. Your chat settings can be found at the bottom of your screen where you see your search bar. You can see the button that says options. These are your chat options. You default start with two chat boxes. One can be found here, chat box 1, and one will be found here, bottom right, system, chat box 2. The first thing you want to do is turn off transparent mode, so you can see where your box is. You can see the edges and you can adjust these to the sizes you see fit. Some may want them tall, some may want them wide, some may want them short. You can move these where you want, how you see fit. I will then also turn off fade out. This prevents the chat from disappearing once the message has been gone too long. Then you have all these different chat options. You have local chat, which is normal typing chat, hello. Then you have group chat. So when you're within a party of other people, you can see the group chat. Shout chat, which is just exclamation mark yellow text chat. Observer chat, which is when someone observes you, you can see someone text such this, hello. System text, which is the server's announcements. Whisper chat, when someone messages you privately in the light pink, light blue text, like so. Guild chat, which is for your guild. Global chat, which you see in green here. Hint text, which is useful for certain spells, and gains text is for your XP and drops you gain. So now you understand what each setting does. Now let's adjust your chat boxes to be more optimized. Personally, I would suggest having at least 2 chat settings. Personally, I have 3. So the first chat settings would be your chat box 1. You can adjust this name to be chat. You can adjust it to be guild. You can adjust it to be just random. I would just leave it as chat personally. And then for your settings that I would have in this, I would have your local chat, your group chat, your shout chat, your observer chat, your whisper chat, your guild chat, your global chat, and that is it. This box will be designed for seeing all messages to and from other players. So your second chat box will again turn off transparency mode, remove the fade out, and also turn off the reverse list. Reverse list makes it so it comes from the top down rather than the bottom up. It's a preference thing. I personally don't like the reverse list, some may do though. And the remove old will show you old messages that are within this box. I would also turn those off personally. The second thing you can do is also stack your boxes. So you can have both your tabs on the same section, and you can have them as different tabs, or you can have them as 2 separate windows side by side as such. In your second tab, I would suggest having your gains text and your hints text in one. Your gains text and hints text will show you all of your XP you've gained, all of your items you've picked up, and any useful information such as a target is too far away to cast a spell. If you want a third box, you will have a third box pop up in your top left of your window. You can move this to where you see fit. And I would have this for your system text only. System texts are what you will see as red messages. Red messages we will potentially see pop up later. These are things like the purge that are happening or global shouts that happen from the server side. It's useful to see these, and you can sometimes miss important messages if you don't have these as a separate window. So having a separate system tab only is quite useful in that sense. So I would call this system. I can even have it hidden here. And if I have show alert on, when a system message goes off, I'll get a notification on my system section that a system message has gone off. I can also just leave it here and I can watch it as I play. Personally, I like it on the side, but some may like it here. That's all your chat options in total. You can adjust the boxes how you wish. You can make it longer, you make it shorter, you can put it right against the corner, line them up perfectly, wherever you see fit. That's up to you, you decide that. Let's move on to actual configuration settings. These are the settings that make your game different. You first open these up by pressing O on your keyboard, and you can also press the settings button in the bottom right, which you see here. This is a perfect example of the chat system's hint text working. Look, we now have an exclamation mark on our chat box. And if you click on it, we now see a system message. You're now aware of this because it's in a separate box. If it was all in the same box, there was potential that you missed it if you was in the middle of a big conversation with someone. Configuration settings. Your configuration settings, the most important thing to start off with is your resolution, your game size. Some people have smaller monitors, some people have bigger monitors. Personally, I like playing on 1920 by 1080. This is the size of the window you see currently. If you was to have it a bit smaller, the game would be more zoomed in and you'll be seeing less of the screen. If you want it even smaller, something like 1366, your game will be quite zoomed in, and the edge of the bar, your edge of the screen will be in line with the UI here, rather than all the way out here as you see currently. This is a preference thing, you can adjust it how you wish, but these are your options you have here. 1920 is my option, personally. Some people like to play full screen, some people like to play windowed mode. You have the option of choosing either or here. Personally, I like to play in full screen because that's always what I've played in, so I'll leave it as full screen for myself. But you have the option to turn it off here. And if you do turn it off, all you have to do is press apply once you have changed the setting, and it will adjust, as so. VSync is something you always want to have turned off because you're going to be very out of sync with the game to server, so client to server. Limit your FPS if you're on a slower PC. Limiting your FPS could benefit you. Personally, I don't like to have the FPS limited, so I can see when my game is lagging more. Click mouse. Click mouse is a setting which is useful if you play in windowed mode. If you are in windowed mode and you want your mouse to only stay within the windowed section, not off the screen randomly, click mouse prevents it from going off the screen if you're playing windowed mode. If you have double monitors, this can be quite useful to you. Debug label. Debug label is this label you see in the top left corner. The most important things you can see are the FPS, the time, and your ping. Your ping is probably the most important one here because you can tell when you are lagging too much. Either your net is struggling or the server is struggling. Draw emblems. Sometimes you'll see players that have these fancy auras around them, around the bottom of their feet, or around behind their characters. They can be like bright green or bright orange. Sometimes they're not very useful. Personally, I like to keep them on because I like the look of them, but to some they are very obnoxious. You can turn these off. You see around her feet, she's got this orange aura, this orange thing around her feet, and then you see these effects coming around her. If I turn the draw emblem off, this will disappear. Personally, I like the look of them, so I leave them on. Multi-threading is a setting that can be used to enhance your performance. If you are on a PC that is struggling with frame rate, this can be turned on to help you run the game better. It will use your CPU's cores to help run the game better. Personally, my computer is good enough to use it without, so I don't use them. But if you are struggling for FPS or your game is lagging a bit, turn this on. It may give you a boost in your FPS and help your game run smoother. Draw shadows. Draw shadows is very simple. You see on characters you have these shadows here. Turn it off, turn the shadows off. Turn them on, turn the shadows on. It's very simple. Draw all detailed effects. Some effects in the game can be very over the top, and some spells are required to have this on. This is a setting I would always have on no matter what, basically. And then you can change the language as well if you wish to. There is English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, and Polish. Personally, I use English only. These settings do work. I don't know how perfect they are, but they are an option if you do desire to use them. Your sound settings. Personally, I have all these sounds on 0 because I don't like to hear the game sound. But if you'd like to have the music on in the background, you can adjust this setting as you see fit. You can also adjust certain things. You can just hit monsters only. You can just hit magic only. Magic is like your attack spells. Personally, I don't like hearing these. It's not for me. If you like it, you can keep it on. I don't like the sound. I turn them off. You can also adjust this number to how you fit. You don't have to just use the arrow keys. Change it to 1. You can change it to 15, 100, 0. Change the numbers, or use a plus and minus signs. Your game setting. This is like this is the bread and butter of your settings. Item names. So whenever you see an item on the floor, such as a health potion or a mana potion, you'll see the name of the item. Self-explanatory. Monster names are the same. You see monster names, player names. You can turn all these up. These are preferences. I personally like to have them on. User's health. This is the rev bar above your health. You can turn it on or off as you desire. Monster's health is the same. Mobs. Damage numbers. Whenever I hit a mob, you see these damage numbers. It's always useful to have these on. I personally would always have it on. Target tag is the default setting, which is turned on. If you leave it on, it will show the red aura above the player's mob's health. You can turn this off if you wish. All it represents is if you have the aggro of the mob that is after you. So you see how these mobs have the red aura. It is now attacking me. If it was my pet here instead, the red aura would disappear because it is attacking my pet. Went near it again, I would gain the red aura again because it would be hitting me potentially. Display helmet. Some people like to see my helmet, so if I turn my rev bar off, user health, you can see that it shows my head or shows my helmet. Personally, I don't like to see the helmet. Some of the helmets are pretty ugly, so I don't display them. If you like to see them, that's up to you. Some people like them, like this bamboo hat. It's quite a unique look. Some people like it. I'm not a fan. I don't use it. Escape closes all. If I was to open like 100 windows and press escape, everything closes. It's a useful thing. Personally, I don't like to use that. I press escape multiple times. Close the thing I'm after the most. Right click detarget. A very important setting for melees. If you are hitting a mob, you left click it, and then you press right click, it will cancel. Very useful. So if you're clicking a mob and you want to cancel your run away, very useful one. I personally would always have this turned on. Show monster information. As you see at the top of my screen, this is the monster information page. I will go over how this will work later on. But if you wish to see this on or off, that is up to you. I would always advise having this on. Because seeing your monster's information is very helpful. You can also move this to wherever you wish. If you like at the top, like it in the bottom, on the bottom right, left, wherever you desire. I personally like having one in the corner, out of the way, and I can still see it if I need to. Draw effects. Some spells, so effects class as spells visuals. If I was to turn this off, I wouldn't see my animations for my spells. There's no visual, nothing happening. So I would always have draw effects on. Map smooth fill. This is a setting that is a very desired taste. As you see right now, the game runs in a, some would say, juddery motion. I turn map smooth fill on. It plays in a smooth mode. Personally, I hate this, but to some people, they absolutely love this. So if this is what you like to play in, then knock yourself out. Won't be me though. Use PvP easy focus. I believe this is a setting that helps you target people easier in PvP. If you're someone who struggles with targeting players because of their hitboxes, this is a setting that can help you out quite a lot. Personally, I don't need it, but if you are someone struggling, feel free to do so. Show your buff UI. I would always advise to have this on. Your buff UI is default in the top right corner. This will show you all your activated buffs that are currently on. I would always want to have this available, because if you're hunting with, like, say, if you were a Teo and you have a shield, you can see how long your shield has remaining and what it's giving to you. This class is for all buffs. Warrior buffs, wizard buffs, Teo buffs. You can also move this to wherever you wish. I personally have mine down towards the bottom of the screen, out of the way. So if you see in your mini-map, in the top right corner, every player has like a black outline around them. If you would turn this setting off, it would make it so there was no black outline. They weren't as standing out. Personally, I like to have the black border because it makes it a little bit clearer who is where. But it's a preference thing again. Draw guild flags. Guild flags are a system that shows you your flag. Guilds can create their own flags as you desire. When you start submitting for wars, this is where you will see the flag. Not a setting that matters to most people. I wouldn't worry about it. Map objective UI. This is a box you see on the left side of your screen as a default. This map objective shows you the progression of the objective in the current map you are in. How this system works is if more monsters that are killed in the map, the bar fills up. When the bar gets to full capacity, that map you're on gains a map bonus. Sometimes it can be drop rate, sometimes it can be spawn rate, sometimes it can be XP rate. Depends on what the map it is. You get different bonuses. It's not really important to see this objective, so you can leave it on or you can leave it off. Personally, I leave it on. I just hide it down in the bottom right corner out the way. But you can just turn this off and you don't need to see this. It's not really important, useful information. Shake screen effect. Certain spells, mainly warrior spells, have effects that make your screen shake while you press them. Perfect examples of this would be Seismic Slam, which is a much later high-level warrior spell. That spell will make your screen shake when you press it. Personally, I'm not a fan of it. If you are a person that wants those kind of details, then by all means leave it on. I won't be. One of the most useful settings there are: mob tag size, player tag size, and mini map dot size. These start at 0 and go all the way up to level 4. Changing these mob tag sizes, default it starts at 0. When I hover over a target, it just highlights them as so. You see a little bit of light. If I was to increase this mob tag size, it would now make them a little bit more bold when I highlight over them. So it has 2, it's a bit bolder. 3, even more bolder, and then 4, it's really clear when hovering over it. If you're someone who struggles with targeting, especially targeting precise targets like such, it's a very useful setting to have on. I wouldn't have it be as big as 4. Personally, I like to have it on like a 1, maybe a 2. So it makes it a little bit clearer what you are exactly targeting. The same can be done for your player target size. So when you're targeting a player, you see it outlines the player. 0, it starts as normal. You have no indication that you're hovering over that player. So I'd always advise having at least 1, so you have a little bit of a highlight. I personally like 2 because it's a little bit more clear you're highlighting someone. But if you'd like the targeting of 3 or even 4, that is up to you. I like 2, I'll leave it as 2 personally. And minimap dot size. If you like your minimap dots to be really small, you can set them to a 2. Like them to be a little bigger, set them as a 3. You want them really big, you set them to a 6. I would not have them higher than a 4, and even 4 as a push. I leave them as a 3 personally. So my sizing would be 1, 2, 3. And if you ever find yourself wanting to refresh your entire UI, if you're not happy with what you are, you can always just press refresh UI. And everything goes back to as default, and you can then move things again. Colors. Some people don't like the colors of their chat. These are the default color text types. If you want your guild chat to be a dark red, change it to a dark red. And you press apply, it changes it to your dark red. If you want it to be a light pink, you can change it to a light pink, and it does it. Or a beige. It's more like a beige, I guess. This is more like a pink. You can change them how you wish. Potion belts. Your hotbar. Your hotbar starts in the bottom right. You see a 1 in here. This will originally start as a blank, empty box. You can drag it left. You can drag it up. You can drag it right. You can drag it as to, you only see 2, 3, up to 10. Personally, I like to see all 10 options. And then I can move it wherever I desire. So if I want it to be here, I want it to be here, I want it to be vertical, I can make it vertical and put it to the side of my screen. Or to the top, to the right, wherever I wish. But make sure you drag from the bottom of the edge. A very useful tip which comes to with your belt. Most people just drag and drop the items into the belt, whereas you can actually just pick up the item you want and press the slot you want it to go to, and it will default go to that slot automatically. I can have multiple of the same things in that one slot if I wanted to. But yeah, by pressing one button, I can have these settings go wherever I desire. Keybinds. Keybinds is probably the most advanced section in this whole thing. Keybinds can get very overwhelming when you first look at them. There is loads of settings, and at first, to some players, it can be crazy to look at. You can find all your keybinds for your different windows here. So if you ever are lost on what buttons actually do what, you can find them all here in the Windows section. You can also minimize these or just scroll past them if you want to. Personally, I know all the Windows keys, so we will skip that. Functions are the same. These are your keybinds for your abilities to auto attack, run, change your mode, etc, etc, which everyone knows. You can change these if you wish to here. All you have to do is hover over the button, press the button you want it to be on. If I want it to be on, say, Q, I just press it and press Q. Or if I want it to be on two different keybinds, I can have one as Q and one as X. So whenever I press Q, I would auto attack, or when I press X, I auto attack. It gives the ability of having two different keybinds for the same button. Personally, I just leave it as what they are. But if you are not used to these keybinds, you can change them to how you see fit. Your items keybinds. These are your keybinds that link to your belt. If you want to change your keybinds for your belt, this is where you would do so. You again have the ability of changing the option of having two different keybinds for the same thing. You have the option of having it as number 1 or having it as shift +1. Magic. This is your spell keybinds. This is the most important part of the keybind section that everyone must follow and must do. You see here it says spell set 1, 2, 3, and 4. In Mir 3, you have the option of having four different spell keybinds. If you was to have multiple people playing the same character, you could use different spell sets as their own. So I will show you how that works. I press Ctrl E to open up the skill bar, and it shows here I have skill set 1. I change it to 2, these spells change, and 3 and 4. Personally, I only use one set of keys because I know only one places to count, obviously. But say you and a buddy wanted to play one character, you would use spell set 1, and your buddy would use spell set 2. If you wanted the hotkey for these, you would put these hotkeys as you wish. Personally, as I'm the only person playing this character, I make these all blank because I don't need multiple spell sets. If anything, they're a hindrance. So I make them all blank so I'm not able to accidentally change my spell set. Use spell keybinds. Use spells are the keybinds you use to actually use the spells you want to use. It only gives you the first 12 options as a default, F1 to 12. You can change these keybinds if you wish to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 if you wanted to, or you can leave them as they are. But when you come down towards the bottom, you have an extra 12 buttons. Personally, I would suggest having these as Control F1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through like so. And whenever you are doing changes in the keybind section, it's so important that you press apply afterwards. If you do not press apply, your settings will not save. All your hard work you have just done changing your settings will not save if you don't press apply. And then at the bottom, this is unused settings, so you don't have to worry about that. So now that my settings are all complete, I would press apply and then close. And then to double make sure that my settings are all correct, I will press apply again and then close. Now all my settings are the way I want them to be, so I can now press Ctrl F1 for my spells. Ctrl F2, I am able to do as I wish with my keybinds. That is all the basic settings explained. I'm going to now give you some of my personal top tips that I use for each character. Getting started on a taos. On a taos, you have a bunch of different amulets. You have your dark talismans, your fire, your ice, your lightning, wind, illusion, soul, etc, etc. You have all these different talismans that do different things. And you want to be using these different talismans with your different spells. If I was using my holy spells, I want to be using my holy talismans, so they get amplifications. If I was using my dark talismans, I would want to be using my dark talismans, so they get amplification damage bonuses. For holy and dark talismans are the two most important talismans for you. So if I was using Great Evil Slayer to kill monsters, I would be wearing holy talismans to have amplified damage with my holy spell. Same to be said if I was using my dark spells. I would be using dark talismans to have amplified damage with my dark spells. Another tip to make your life on a Tao much easier is by going to your keybinds and going down to the items section, this subheading here, and putting your talismans on your belt. Personally, I have my holy talismans on my number 3, and my offensive spells are on number F2. So I would change this keybind here to be F2. So every time that I go to use my offensive spells, it would force me to wear the holy talismans. If I was just wearing my soul talismans to be resurrecting somebody, and if I get to change back to my holy talismans, I'd be losing out on my damage bonus. Having this keybind makes it so it automatically switches to the talismans I require to be doing bonus damage. This can be done for all of your different talismans if you desire. So same can be done for your resurrection. My resurrection soul talismans are on my key 0, and my resurrection key is on F12, so I would press this as F12. So whenever I go to press resurrection on a target, I press F12 to resurrect them. It would change the talismans automatically and resurrect them in the same instance. And if I wanted to go back to using my holy talismans to attack, it would automatically swap, saving you the hassle of having to go to your bag, change the talismans, or pressing the keybind on your belt manually. You still have the ability of pressing the keybind manually. I press 0, I get soul talismans up. I press 3, I get my holy talismans up. The monster UI, the monster information page. This is the information page. You can put it wherever you wish. I'll leave it in the middle of the screen for now. It shows you the monster's name, the level of the monster, its current health percent, and its defensive and offensive stats. It will also show you its elemental attack type and its weaknesses and advantages. These are its defensive stats. So if you have 100 SC and you would hit 100 magical power and would hit this mob, you would do 0 damage. So it has 100%, 100 to 100 damage reduction. Same for AC. If you were to hit melee attacks and you had less than 64 offensive power, you would do 0 damage. If you had 65, you'd be doing 1 damage. If you had 100, 164, you'd do 100 damage. DC, with it being 143 peak, if I had more than 143 base defense, I would never get hit by this mob. The attack type of the mob. This window here below the level shows you the attack type of the monster. This mob has a dark elemental attack type, as we see here. So I would be wanting to wear dark advantages to take reduced damage. At the bottom though, it shows it's got green numbers and red numbers. The green numbers are advantages, so it takes less damage from this elemental type. And the red numbers show it takes amplified damage from this attack type. So if I was to hit this with fire attacks or holy attacks, I would do 10% more damage. But if I was to hit this with dark attacks, I would do 20% less damage. This symbol at the end is your physical attack. Physical attacks are your basic melee attacks. So if you wanted to do neutral damage, you would do, there would be no reduction in damage at all. It is at 0%. Different monsters have different elemental attack types. If you go to another cave, like here, these mobs here show they have fire attacks. This is the fire emblem, so they attack with fire. Whereas the previous cave attacked with dark. These ones are also weak to holy and fire. But if I was to go to a cave such as Death Valley, these mobs they hit physical attacks. So these will mean that I need AC stats rather than MR stats. They are also neutral to all elemental attack types. All of these elements fire, ice, lightning, wind, holy, dark, and phantom are all magical types. So they are all MR based mobs. If it has the physical icon, which is this icon here below the mob, they are AC based mobs. So if I want to be hunting in this cave and taking 0 damage like I am now, I would need to meet the requirement of at least 30 base defense to take 0 damage. If it was a fire mob though, I would need to have 30 base magical resistance instead of AC resistance. There you have it, all the necessary information you need to get you started. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, please leave a like. If you have any further questions, please ask and I'll do my best to help you out. You can find me live on Twitch, link in the description, nearly every day and seen on screen.